Welcome to our quick prep on acing the CompTIA A plus 22011-01 exam. We're focusing on the Hardware and Network Troubleshooting domain, which forms a significant 29% of the exam. We'll be diving into key areas like problem-solving methodology, troubleshooting for motherboards, RAM, CPU, power, storage drives, RAID arrays, video issues, mobile devices, printers, and wired and wireless networks. We'll tackle common symptoms in each area through scenario-based practice questions to get you exam ready. Acing this exam could open up new opportunities in your IT career. Let's jump right in. The first question is about you as a system administrator, faced with a workstation that fails to boot. During the power on self-test, post, an error is detected and the computer emits 2 beeps repeatedly. What is the most probable cause of this issue? A. Failure of the power supply. B. Failure of the video adapter. C. Failure of the memory. D. Failure of the CPU. The most probable cause of this issue is C. Failure of the memory. Beep codes are used by the BIOS during the post to report certain initial system errors. If you're hearing 2 beeps, the motherboard is likely reporting a memory error. A. Failure of the power supply. A power supply failure wouldn't typically cause the computer to emit beep codes. The system would likely not power on at all. B. Failure of the video adapter. While a video adapter failure could potentially cause beep codes, it's less likely to be the cause if the code is specifically 2 beeps. D. Failure of the CPU. A CPU failure could cause a variety of issues, including beep codes, but 2 beeps are typically associated with memory errors. 2. You have established a theory that a user's computer will not boot due to a failed hard drive. Which of the following should be your next step according to the troubleshooting process? A. Document the findings and potential solution. B. Test the theory by attempting to boot from a bootable USB drive. C. Implement a plan to replace the hard drive and reinstall the operating system. D. Research online forums for additional troubleshooting steps related to boot issues. The best choice is B. Test the theory by attempting to boot from a bootable USB drive. Once a theory has been established, the next step in the troubleshooting process is to test that theory. A. Document the findings and potential solution. Documentation is an important part of the process, but it typically comes after testing and verifying the theory. C. Implement a plan to replace the hard drive and reinstall the operating system. This could be a potential solution, but it's not the next step. The theory should be tested first. D. Research online forums for additional troubleshooting steps related to boot issues. While research can be helpful, it's not the next step after establishing a theory. The theory should be tested first. 3. You have resolved an issue where a user's computer was overheating due to a failing CPU fan. Which of the following preventive measures aligns with the troubleshooting methodology? A. Enable automatic Windows updates to keep drivers and software up to date. B. Schedule regular cleanings of the computer's interior to prevent dust buildup. C. Upgrade the computer's RAM to improve overall system performance. D. Implement a policy to shut down computers when not in use to reduce heat generation. The best choice is B. Schedule regular cleanings of the computer's interior to prevent dust buildup. Regular cleaning can help prevent dust from clogging the fans and causing overheating, which aligns with preventive maintenance in the troubleshooting methodology. A. Enable automatic Windows updates to keep drivers and software up to date. While this is a good practice, it doesn't directly prevent overheating issues. C. Upgrade the computer's RAM to improve overall system performance. This could improve performance, but it doesn't directly prevent overheating. D. Implement a policy to shut down computers when not in use to reduce heat generation. While this could reduce heat generation, it doesn't address the root cause of the overheating issue, which is often dust buildup or hardware failure. 4. Which of the following is part of Step 5 in the 6-step troubleshooting methodology? A. Identify the problem. B. Document findings. C. Establish a new theory. D. Implement preventive measures. D. Implement preventive measures is indeed the right answer. As per the 6-step CompTIA A+ troubleshooting methodology, Step 5 involves verifying full system functionality and, if applicable, implementing preventive measures. This step ensures that the solution has completely resolved the issue and the system is functioning as expected. It also includes taking preventive measures to avoid the recurrence of the same problem in the future. The other options are not aligned with Step 5. A. Identify the problem. This is the first step in the troubleshooting methodology where the problem is identified based on the symptoms. B. Document findings. This is a part of Step 6, which is the final step in the methodology. It involves documenting everything about the problem and the steps taken to resolve it. C. Establish a new theory. This is a part of Step 2, where a theory of probable cause is established based on the initial analysis of the problem. 5. You have determined that the SATA controller on a motherboard has failed. Which of these would be the best solution? A. Install a separate PCIe SATA controller card and disable the integrated controller. B. Replace the entire motherboard due to the component failure. C. Flash the BIOS to see if it resolves the controller issue. D. Upgrade the CPU to a newer model that has an updated SATA controller. The best solution is A. Install a separate PCIe SATA controller card and disable the integrated controller. This allows you to bypass the failed SATA controller on the motherboard without having to replace the entire motherboard, which can be costly and time-consuming. B. Replace the entire motherboard due to the component failure. This is a more drastic and expensive solution. It's typically reserved for when multiple components have failed or the motherboard is outdated. C. Flash the BIOS to see if it resolves the controller issue. While updating the BIOS can resolve some issues, it's unlikely to fix a hardware failure like a faulty SATA controller. D. Upgrade the CPU to a newer model that has an updated SATA controller. The CPU doesn't have a SATA controller, so this wouldn't resolve the issue. 6. While working on a computer, you notice the CMOS battery has discharged completely. Which of the following is the likely impact? A. The computer will continuously reboot during post. B. The BIOS settings and system time date will reset to defaults. C. The motherboard capacitors will become swollen and distended. D. The CPU and RAM will not be recognized by the system. The likely impact is B. The BIOS settings and system time date will reset to defaults. The CMOS battery powers the CMOS memory, which stores BIOS settings and system time date. If the battery discharges completely, this information will be lost and reset to defaults upon reboot. A. The computer will continuously reboot during post. While a discharged CMOS battery can cause issues, continuous rebooting during post is not a typical symptom. C. The motherboard capacitors will become swollen and distended. A discharged CMOS battery won't cause physical changes to the motherboard capacitors. D. The CPU and RAM will not be recognized by the system. While BIOS settings can affect system recognition of hardware, a discharged CMOS battery typically doesn't cause the system to fail to recognize the CPU and RAM. 7. You are troubleshooting a computer that powers on, but there is no post, display output, or drive activity. Which of these should you check first? A. Ensure the CPU is installed properly and making full contact. B. Verify the heatsink is securely fastened to the CPU. C. Check that the CPU fan is connected and spinning. D. All of the above. The best choice is D, all of the above. When a computer powers on but there is no post, display output, or drive activity, it's important to check all components related to the boot process. A. Ensure the CPU is installed properly and making full contact. An improperly seated CPU can prevent the computer from booting. B. Verify the heatsink is securely fastened to the CPU. An improperly fastened heatsink can cause the CPU to overheat and shut down to prevent damage. C. Check that the CPU fan is connected and spinning. If the CPU fan isn't working, the CPU can overheat, causing the computer to shut down to protect itself. 8. A user complains about a grinding noise coming from inside their desktop computer. Which of the following is the most likely cause and resolution? A. Failing hard drive. Replace the hard drive. B. Distended capacitor on motherboard. Replace motherboard. C. Cable touching CPU fan. Reroute internal cables. D. Overheating CPU. Reapply thermal compound. The most likely cause and resolution is C. Cable touching CPU fan. Reroute internal cables. A grinding noise often indicates a physical obstruction, and a loose cable can come into contact with the spinning blades of the CPU fan. A. Failing hard drive. Replace the hard drive. While a failing hard drive can make noise, it's usually more of a clicking sound than a grinding noise. B. Distended capacitor on motherboard. Replace motherboard. A distended capacitor might cause the system to fail, but it wouldn't typically cause a grinding noise. D. Overheating CPU. Reapply thermal compound. An overheating CPU can cause the system to shut down or behave erratically, but it wouldn't cause a grinding noise. 9. A user reports that they occasionally receive a blue screen of death, BSOD, when running certain applications. Which of the following is the most likely cause? A. Incompatible or faulty RAM. B. Insufficient CPU power. C. Outdated BIOS firmware. D. Loose cables touching fans. The most likely cause is A. Incompatible or faulty RAM. A BSOD can often be caused by memory issues, especially when it occurs while running certain applications that may be demanding on the system's memory. B. Insufficient CPU power. While this could cause system instability, it's less likely to cause a BSOD than memory issues. C. Outdated BIOS firmware. Outdated BIOS firmware can cause a variety of issues, but it's not the most common cause of a BSOD. D. Loose cables touching fans. This would typically cause a physical obstruction or noise, not a BSOD. 10. You're troubleshooting a computer that will not boot at all. The power supply fan spins, but there are no beeps or displays. Which of these steps should you try first? A. Reseat the RAM modules and ensure they are properly installed. B. Update the BIOS to the latest version. C. Replace the CPU with a new compatible processor. D. Check that the video card is seated correctly. The first step you should try is A. Reseat the RAM modules and ensure they are properly installed. If the RAM is not properly seated or installed, it can prevent the computer from booting. B. Update the BIOS to the latest version. While this can resolve some issues, it's not the first step you should take, especially since the computer is not booting at all. C. Replace the CPU with a new compatible processor. This is a drastic step that should only be taken after other possibilities have been ruled out. D. Check that the video card is seated correctly. While a poorly seated video card can cause display issues, it wouldn't typically prevent the computer from booting. 11. The BIOS indicates an incorrect amount of installed RAM. Which of the following could potentially resolve this issue? A. Load BIOS default settings. B. Flash the BIOS to the latest version. C. Purchase higher capacity RAM modules. D. Both A and B. The correct answer is D. Both A and BA load BIOS default settings. This can potentially resolve the issue if the BIOS settings were incorrectly configured. B. Flash the BIOS to the latest version. An outdated BIOS may not correctly recognize the installed RAM, so updating it could resolve the issue. Option C, purchasing higher capacity RAM modules, would not necessarily resolve an issue of the BIOS incorrectly reporting the installed RAM. Always remember, it's important to diagnose and address the root cause of the issue rather than just upgrading components. 12. You are using a power supply tester and notice there are no lights illuminated for the 12-volt rail on the 24-pin ATX connector. What should your next step be? A. Replace the 24-pin ATX power cable if the power supply is modular. B. Replace the entire power supply unit. C. Check for any loose connections on the 24-pin cable. D. Update the BIOS firmware on the motherboard. The best next step is B. Replace the entire power supply unit. If there are no lights illuminated for the 12-volt rail on the 24-pin ATX connector, it indicates that the power supply unit, PSU, is not providing the necessary power, which is a sign of a faulty PSU. A. Replace the 24-pin ATX power cable if the power supply is modular. While this could potentially solve the issue if the cable is faulty, it's less likely than a faulty PSU. C. Check for any loose connections on the 24-pin cable. This is always a good first step in troubleshooting power issues. But if the power supply tester shows no lights for the 12-volt rail, it's likely a PSU issue. D. Update the BIOS firmware on the motherboard. This wouldn't resolve a power supply issue. BIOS updates are typically related to improving hardware compatibility and fixing bugs. 13. A user reports that their computer shuts down intermittently and you suspect it may be a power supply issue. Which of the following steps should you take first? A. Ensure all power connections are secure. B. Replace the case fans for improved airflow. C. Check for any capacitor swelling on the motherboard. D. Update to a higher wattage power supply. The first step you should take is A. Ensure all power connections are secure. Loose or improper power connections can cause intermittent shutdowns. It's a simple and non-invasive check that can often resolve the issue. B. Replace the case fans for improved airflow. While improved airflow can help prevent overheating, it's not the first step you should take if you suspect a power supply issue. C. Check for any capacitor swelling on the motherboard. Swollen capacitors can cause a variety of issues, but they're not typically associated with intermittent shutdowns. D. Update to a higher wattage power supply. This could potentially resolve power issues, but it's a more drastic step that should only be taken after other possibilities have been ruled out. 14. You notice the power supply fan in a computer is not spinning at all. Which of the following is the recommended course of action? A. Attempt to replace just the power supply fan. B. Replace the entire power supply unit. C. Use compressed air to clean out any dust in the fan. D. Check for any loose power connections to the fan. The recommended course of action is B. Replace the entire power supply unit. The power supply fan is crucial for cooling the power supply unit and preventing overheating. If it's not spinning at all, it's a sign that the power supply unit may be faulty. A. Attempt to replace just the power supply fan. This is not typically recommended because it can be complex and risky due to the high voltages inside the power supply unit. C. Use compressed air to clean out any dust in the fan. While this can help if the fan is just blocked by dust, it won't help if the fan or power supply unit is faulty. D. Check for any loose power connections to the fan. The fan in the power supply unit is typically directly soldered to the unit's PCB, so there are no connections to check. 15. You are troubleshooting a computer that won't power on. You have already checked the AC outlet and the power cord, which appear to be functioning properly. What should you do next? A. Test the computer with a PSU tester. B. Plug the computer into a different outlet. C. Check that the RAM is seated correctly. D. Install a UPS. The next step you should take is A. Test the computer with a PSU tester. If the AC outlet and power cord are functioning properly, the issue may be with the power supply unit, PSU, itself. A PSU tester can help determine if this is the case. B. Plug the computer into a different outlet. While this could potentially solve the issue if the problem was with the outlet, you've already checked the AC outlet and found it to be functioning properly. C. Check that the RAM is seated correctly. While improperly seated, RAM can prevent a computer from booting. It wouldn't prevent the computer from powering on. D. Install a UPS. A UPS, uninterruptible power supply, provides backup power in case of power outages, but it wouldn't help if the computer isn't powering on at all. 16. You are troubleshooting a computer that displays a bootable device not found error during startup. Which of the following steps should you take first? A. Update the BIOS firmware to the latest version. B. Verify the SATA data cables are properly connected. C. Run the disk defragmenter utility. D. Install the latest storage driver. The first step you should take is B. Verify the SATA data cables are properly connected. A bootable device not found error often indicates that the computer is not detecting the hard drive or SSD during startup, which could be due to loose or improperly connected SATA data cables. A. Update the BIOS firmware to the latest version. While this can resolve some issues, it's not the first step you should take, especially since the computer is not recognizing the bootable device. C. Run the disk defragmenter utility. This utility is used to optimize your hard drive's efficiency, but it won't help if the system can't recognize the drive in the first place. D. Install the latest storage driver. While having up-to-date drivers is important, the system should still recognize the bootable device even with outdated drivers. 17. A user reports that their computer is responding very slowly when accessing files on their hard disk drive, HDD. Which of the following could be potential causes? Select 2. A. The HDD is nearing full capacity. B. The HDD is overheating due to poor airflow. C. The HDD is heavily fragmented. D. Malware infection on the HDD. E. Faulty SATA power cable connection. The two potential causes for a computer responding very slowly when accessing files on a hard disk drive, HDD, could be 1. A. The HDD is nearing full capacity. When a hard drive is nearly full, it can cause the computer to slow down. This is because the operating system needs free space to function efficiently. 2. C. The HDD is heavily fragmented. Fragmentation occurs when a file is not stored in a contiguous space but spread out across a drive. This can slow down the speed at which data is accessed because the HDD has to work harder to piece the file together. Other options like overheating, B, malware infection, D, and a faulty SATA power cable connection, E, can cause issues, but they are less likely to result in slow file access on the HDD. Overheating and a faulty power connection would likely cause more severe issues like system instability or failure to boot, while a malware infection could cause a variety of symptoms, not just slow file access. 18. You are configuring a new RAID 5 array on a server motherboard that has integrated RAID support. Which of the following steps should you take first? A. Update the motherboard BIOS to the latest version. B. Change the SATA mode from AHCI to RAID in the BIOS. C. Install the latest storage driver for the RAID controller. D. Connect all hard drives to the dedicated RAID ports. The first step you should take is B. Change the SATA mode from AHCI to RAID in the BIOS. Before you can configure a RAID array, the SATA mode in the BIOS needs to be set to RAID. A. Update the motherboard BIOS to the latest version. While this is generally a good practice, it's not the first step in setting up a RAID array. C. Install the latest storage driver for the RAID controller. This is an important step, but it typically comes after the SATA mode has been set to RAID in the BIOS. D. Connect all hard drives to the dedicated RAID ports. This is also an important step, but it comes after the SATA mode has been set to RAID. 19. You notice that one of the drives in your RAID 1 mirrored volume shows a degraded status in the RAID utility. What does this indicate? A. One of the drives in the mirror has failed or is missing. B. The RAID controller battery needs to be replaced. C. The parity data on the drives is corrupted. D. The RAID array is operating in a lower redundant mode. The degraded status in the RAID utility indicates A. One of the drives in the mirror has failed or is missing. In a RAID 1 mirrored volume, data is duplicated across 2 or more drives for redundancy. If one drive fails or is missing, the RAID volume can still function with the remaining drives, but it's in a degraded state because the redundancy is compromised. B. The RAID controller battery needs to be replaced. While a failing battery on the RAID controller can cause issues, it wouldn't typically result in a degraded status for a RAID 1 volume. C. The parity data on the drives is corrupted. Parity is not used in RAID 1. It's a feature of RAID levels, such as RAID 5 or RAID 6. D. The RAID array is operating in a lower redundant mode. This is not typically associated with a degraded status in RAID 1. The array will continue to operate with the remaining drives, but it's considered degraded because the redundancy is compromised. 20. You are reviewing the smart data for the drives in a RAID 10 array. Which of the following values in the status column should prompt further investigation? A. OK. B. Caution. C. Unknown. D. Both B and C. The values in the status column that should prompt further investigation are D. Both B and C. B. Caution. This status indicates that the drive has potentially problematic health parameters, which could lead to drive failure. It's important to investigate these issues further to prevent data loss. C. Unknown. This status means the health of the drive couldn't be determined, which could be due to a lack of smart support or other issues. This should also be investigated further. Remember, smart data can provide valuable insights into the health of a drive, but it's not a guarantee of drive reliability. Always keep important data backed up in multiple locations. 21. You are troubleshooting a SATA drive that doesn't function on a PC. When you try it on another computer, it works fine. You suspect a power issue and decide to take voltage readings from the SATA power connector coming from the power supply. Which of the following readings should you find? A. 5 volt and 12 volt. B. 5 volt, 12 volt, and 24 volt. C. 3.3 volt, 5 volt, and 12 volt. D. 3.3 volt and 12 volt. The correct readings you should find are C. 3.3 volt, 5 volt, and 12 volt. A SATA power connector has multiple pins that provide different voltages. Specifically, it should provide 3. 3 volt, 5 volt, and 12 volt. These voltages are used to power different components of the drive. Remember, incorrect voltages can cause a drive to malfunction or not function at all. If the voltages are not as expected, it could indicate a problem with the power supply unit. 22. Imagine you are a technician working on a client's computer. The client is experiencing problems with their video playback. You decide to gather more information about the system's graphics capabilities. Which Windows utility would be the most appropriate to use in this situation? A. Registry Editor, Regedit. B. System Configuration, misconfig. C. DirectX Diagnostic Tool, DXDiag. D. Task Manager. The most appropriate Windows utility to use in this situation is C. Direct Diagnostic Tool, DXDiag. The DXDiag tool can provide detailed information about the video card, drivers, and other multimedia components, which can be helpful in diagnosing video playback issues. It's specifically designed to troubleshoot DirectX-related issues, which include graphics and video playback. The other utilities have their uses, but they're not as directly applicable to this situation. A. Registry Editor, Regedit. This tool allows you to view and modify the system registry, but it's not typically used for diagnosing video playback issues. B. System Configuration, misconfig. This tool can be used to modify startup settings and services, but it doesn't provide detailed information about graphics capabilities. D. Task Manager. While Task Manager can provide some information about system performance and running processes, it doesn't provide the detailed graphics information that DXDiag does. 23. Imagine you are an IT support specialist. A project manager is about to give a crucial presentation, and they're using a laptop connected to a projector. During your initial tests, you notice that the image on the projector starts to flicker, but the laptop's display is fine. You try altering the laptop's resolution, but the flickering persists. What should be your next course of action? A. Adjust the settings on the projector. B. Inspect the video cable for any connectivity issues. C. Modify the aspect ratio settings on the laptop. D. Verify the power cable's connection. The best choice is B. Inspect the video cable for any connectivity issues. The flickering on the projector, despite a stable image on the laptop, suggests a possible issue with the video cable. It could be loosely connected or damaged, causing intermittent signal loss, which results in flickering. A. Adjust the settings on the projector. This might not solve the problem, as the issue seems to be with the connection rather than the projector settings. C. Modify the aspect ratio settings on the laptop. The aspect ratio wouldn't cause flickering. It mainly affects how the content fits on the screen. D. Verify the power cable's connection. A power issue would likely cause the projector to turn off completely, not just flicker, so this is less likely to be the cause. 24. You are an IT technician and a user comes to you with their smartphone. They report that they can't see anything on the screen. What is the first step you should take in your troubleshooting process? A. Begin disassembling the device for a thorough reassembly. B. Examine the volume mixer sliders. C. Confirm the brightness setting on the smartphone. D. Start the screen calibration process. The best choice is C. Confirm the brightness setting on the smartphone. Sometimes the screen might appear blank if the brightness is set to the lowest level. So it's a good first step to check the brightness settings. A. Begin disassembling the device for a thorough reassembly. This is a drastic step and should be considered only after simpler troubleshooting steps have been exhausted. B. Examine the volume mixer sliders. The volume settings wouldn't affect the visibility of the screen, so this option is not relevant. D. Start the screen calibration process. Screen calibration is typically not related to visibility issues, so this would not be the first step in troubleshooting this problem. "25. You are an IT technician working on a user's tablet. The user reports that the digitizer seems to be non-responsive. Among the following options, which is the least likely cause of this issue? A. A failure in one of the tablet's applications. B. A defective charging cable for the tablet. C. A loose connection in the tablet's display. D. An error made by the user." The least likely cause of this issue is B. A defective charging cable for the tablet. A defective charging cable would typically cause power issues, not problems with the digitizer. A. A failure in one of the tablet's applications. While it's less likely, a software issue could potentially cause problems with the digitizer. C. A loose connection in the tablet's display. This could indeed cause the digitizer to be non-responsive, as the digitizer is a component of the display assembly. D. An error made by the user. User errors could potentially cause a variety of issues, including problems with the digitizer. "26. A user approaches you, an IT technician, with a problem. The color printouts from their printer don't match what they see on their computer screen. The colors are noticeably different. Which two actions would be the most appropriate to take in this situation? A. Check to make sure that the printer's ink or toner cartridges aren't empty. B. Verify that the printer's separation pad is getting enough traction. C. Confirm that the paper being used for printing is not too thin. D. Execute the printer calibration tool to align the printer's color output with the computer's display. The two most appropriate actions to take in this situation are A. Check to make sure that the printer's ink or toner cartridges aren't empty, and D. Execute the printer calibration tool to align the printer's color output with the computer's display. Empty or low ink toner cartridges can cause color discrepancies between the screen and printouts, so checking the cartridges is a logical first step. Executing the printer calibration tool is also crucial. This tool aligns the printer's color output with the computer's display, ensuring that the colors you see on the screen match those in the printout. B. Verify that the printer separation pad is getting enough traction. The separation pad helps the printer feed paper properly. It's unlikely to cause color discrepancies. C. Confirm that the paper being used for printing is not too thin. The thickness of the paper can affect print quality, but it's unlikely to cause the colors to differ from what's displayed on the screen. 27. You are an IT professional and a user is experiencing issues with their printer. You decide that the best course of action is to immediately stop the print spooler service. How would you go about doing this? A. Initiate an immediate print job. B. Enter scconfig spooler start =, disabled in the command prompt. C. Opt to print directly to the printer. D. Enter net stop spooler in the command prompt. The correct action is D. Enter net stop spooler in the command prompt. The command net stop spooler is used to stop the print spooler service immediately. This service is responsible for managing all print jobs, and if there's an issue with the printer, stopping and starting this service can often resolve it. A. Initiate an immediate print job. This wouldn't stop the print spooler service. It would just add another job to the queue. B. Enter scconfig spooler. Start =, disabled in the command prompt. This command disables the print spooler service from starting up at all, which is not what we want in this situation. We just want to stop it temporarily. C. Opt to print directly to the printer. This wouldn't affect the print spooler service. It's a setting that bypasses the print queue, but it doesn't stop the service. 28. You are an IT professional and you're troubleshooting a computer that is experiencing a network issue. The network connection alternates between a working state and a non-working state, affecting all applications. What is the most likely cause of this issue? A. Jitter. B. Network congestion. C. Port flapping. D. High latency. The most likely cause of this issue is C. Port flapping. Port flapping refers to the state when a port on a network device, such as a switch or a router, rapidly changes between up and down states. This can cause the network connection to alternate between working and non-working states. A. Jitter. Jitter refers to the variation in the delay of received packets. High jitter can cause problems with voice over IP and video applications, but it wouldn't cause a network connection to alternate between working and non-working states. B. Network congestion. While network congestion can slow down the network, it typically doesn't cause the network to alternate between working and non-working states. D. High latency. High latency can cause delays in the network, but like network congestion, it wouldn't typically cause the network to alternate between working and non-working states. 29. As a network administrator, you're diagnosing a computer that is experiencing low RF signal and intermittent wireless connectivity issues. What is the first thing you should check in this scenario? A. Whether the computer has an IP address. B. If quality of service QoS needs to be configured. C. The distance of the computer from the wireless access point WAP. D. If there are any outdated equipment and cables. The first thing you should check in this scenario is C, the distance of the computer from the wireless access point, WAP. RF signal strength can significantly decrease with distance. If the computer is too far from the WAP, it may experience low signal and intermittent connectivity. A, whether the computer has an APIPA address. An APIPA address is assigned when the computer can't reach the DHCP server. While this could indicate a connectivity issue, it's not directly related to RF signal strength. B. If quality of service, QoS, needs to be configured, QoS can prioritize certain types of traffic, but it wouldn't typically affect RF signal strength. D. If there are any outdated equipment and cables, outdated equipment could potentially cause connectivity issues, but it's less likely to be the first thing to check when dealing with low RF signal. 30. You are a computer technician troubleshooting an issue for a user who reports that their computer has been running very slowly lately. Which of the following should be your first step according to the troubleshooting methodology? A. Review the computer's event logs for potential error messages. B. Ask the user about any recent software installations or system changes. C. Replace the computer's RAM modules to improve performance. D. Run a full system scan for malware and viruses. The best choice is B. Ask the user about any recent software installations or system changes. This is the first step in the troubleshooting methodology because understanding any recent changes can help identify the cause of the problem. A. Review the computer's event logs for potential error messages. This is a useful step, but it's typically done after gathering information from the user. C. Replace the computer's RAM modules to improve performance. This is a potential solution, but it's a drastic first step without knowing more details. D. Run a full system scan for malware and viruses. This could be necessary if malware is suspected, but it's not the first step in the troubleshooting process. 31. A user reports that their monitor is displaying a completely black screen. Which of the following should you check first? A. Verify the monitor is powered on and connected to the correct video source. B. Update the video driver to the latest version. C. Check the display resolution settings in Windows. D. Ensure the onboard video is disabled in the BIOS. For a monitor displaying a completely black screen, the first check is A. Verify the monitor is powered on and connected to the correct video source. This ensures basic power and connection integrity. Other options like updating the video driver, B. Checking display resolution settings or ensuring the onboard video is disabled in the BIOS, D. Are subsequent steps if the issue persists. (32) You notice that the image on a projector looks distorted and fuzzy. Which of these could be potential causes? Select 2. A. Incorrect refresh rate setting. B. Loose video cable connection. C. Burned out projector bulb. D. Video card overheating issue. E. Wrong video port selected as source. For a distorted and fuzzy image on a projector, the potential causes could be A. Incorrect refresh rate setting, and B. Loose video cable connection. The refresh rate affects image stability, and a loose cable can disrupt the signal. Other factors like a burned out projector bulb, video card overheating, D, or wrong video port selected as source, E, might cause different issues. (33) A user complains that their monitor shows streaks or ghost images from previous displayed content. What is the most likely issue? A. Dead pixels on the monitor. B. Image retention or burn-in. C. Incorrect color settings. D. Low screen refresh rate. If a monitor shows streaks or ghost images, the most likely issue is B. Image retention or burn-in. This happens when an image is displayed for a long period. Other possibilities like dead pixels, A. Incorrect color settings or low screen refresh rate, D, typically cause different visual anomalies. (34) A gamer experiences a sudden display blackout while using a high-end video card. The computer remains powered on. What is the most likely cause based on the passage? A. Faulty monitor connection. B. Stuck pixels requiring software repair. C. Overheated video card throttling or shutting down. D. Corrupted video card BIOS requiring a reflash. The most likely cause is C. Overheated video card throttling or shutting down. High-end video cards, especially when used for gaming, can generate a lot of heat. If the card gets too hot, it may throttle its performance or shut down completely to prevent damage, causing the display to go black. A. Faulty monitor connection. While this could cause a blackout, the fact that the issue occurred during gaming suggests it's more likely related to the video card. B. Stuck pixels requiring software repair. Stuck pixels would cause small spots on the screen to not display correctly, not a complete blackout. D. Corrupted video card BIOS requiring a reflash. While this could potentially cause display issues, it's less likely to be the cause if the blackout occurred suddenly during gaming. (35) A user notices their phone becomes very hot while watching streaming videos. What is the most likely cause? A. A damaged battery needing replacement. B. Faulty display connection requiring repair. C. A recent mobile OS update. D. The streaming app being resource intensive. The most likely cause is D. The streaming app being resource intensive. Streaming videos can be demanding on a phone's resources, leading to increased heat production. A. A damaged battery needing replacement. While a damaged battery can cause a phone to heat up, it would likely cause other issues as well, not just when streaming videos. B. Faulty display connection requiring repair. This is unlikely to cause the phone to heat up, only when streaming videos. C. A recent mobile OS update. While an update could potentially cause issues, it's less likely to cause the phone to heat up only when streaming videos. 36. A user complains that their phone won't charge. There are no visible signs of damage to the charging port or cable. What should you recommend as the first troubleshooting step? A. Restart the phone. B. Check for software updates that might be causing charging issues. C. Clean the charging port with compressed air. D. Order a replacement battery online. The first troubleshooting step you should recommend is C. Clean the charging port with compressed air. Dirt or debris in the charging port can prevent the cable from making a good connection, which could cause the phone not to charge. Cleaning the port is a simple and non-invasive first step. A. Restart the phone. While this could potentially resolve software issues, it's less likely to be the first step for a charging problem. B. Check for software updates that might be causing charging issues. Software updates could potentially cause issues, but they're less likely to prevent the phone from charging. D. Order a replacement battery online. This is a drastic step and should only be considered after other troubleshooting steps have been exhausted. (37) A customer reports that their smartphone's battery is draining rapidly even when not in use. After attempting basic troubleshooting steps like closing background apps and checking for software updates, you suspect a hardware issue. Which of the following tools would be most useful in further diagnosing the source of the battery drain? A. Multimeter. B. Battery monitoring app. C. Wireless diagnostic utility. D. System file checker. The best choice is B. Battery monitoring app. These apps provide granular battery usage data, identifying battery hogging apps and processes that could be causing rapid drain, even when the phone is idle. A multimeter, A, is impractical for diagnosing software-related battery issues on modern sealed smartphones. A wireless diagnostic utility, C, is useful for connectivity troubleshooting but not directly relevant to battery drain. A system file checker, D, verifies file integrity but does not provide battery usage insights. By pinpointing power-hungry culprits, a battery monitoring app is the most useful diagnostic tool for this issue. 38. There's a paper jam. Your printer has stopped working and you can see a crumpled piece of paper stuck inside. What should you do first before attempting to remove the jammed paper? A. Take the printer offline. B. Clear the print queue. C. Open all the doors of the printer. D. Turn off the printer. The first thing you should do before attempting to remove the jammed paper is D. Turn off the printer. Turning off the printer ensures safety while you're removing the jammed paper. It can also reset the printer's state and potentially resolve the issue. A. Take the printer offline. While this could prevent additional print jobs from being sent to the printer, it's less important than ensuring safety by turning off the printer. B. Clear the print queue. This could prevent additional print jobs from being sent to the printer, but again, safety comes first. C. Open all the doors of the printer. You would do this after turning off the printer to access the jammed paper. 39. A customer's desktop PC intermittently restarts without warning. After basic troubleshooting, you suspect a hardware fault. Which diagnostic tool would be most useful? A. IML Viewer. B. Event Viewer. C. Memtest 86. D. HDD Health Utility. The best choice is B. Event Viewer. It logs critical hardware and driver errors that could explain random restarts. An IML Viewer, A, shows hardware information but not logs. Memtest 86C tests RAM integrity but not other components. While relevant, an HDD Health Utility, D, narrows focus to just the hard drive when the root cause is unclear. 40. A laptop's USB ports aren't recognizing devices consistently. You've ruled out software issues. Which tool can help identify the hardware fault? A. Multimeter, B. USB sniffer, C. BIOS update utility, D. Thermal monitoring app. The best tool is A. Multimeter. It can test the USB controller chip and trace voltage levels on the USB data lines to pinpoint hardware failures. A USB sniffer, B, monitors USB traffic but can't diagnose physical faults. A BIOS update utility, C, is unhelpful since BIOS does basic USB initialization only. While useful for other cases, a thermal monitoring app, D, isn't directly relevant. Thanks for joining us in this CompTIA A+ exam prep guide. We hope our focus on hardware and network troubleshooting and practice questions have been helpful. Keep practicing and stay curious. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content. Good luck with your exam.